Everybody, welcome back. My name is Abby. I'm with Fitness is Medicine, and my doggies, Tubby and Baloo, are here to help me today. I'm here to give you a good workout you can do in your own home with minimal equipment, working your whole body. So remember to come into these workouts warmed up and ready to move. 5 to 10 minutes of a cardio workout just to get your heart rate up, warm your muscles up, and be ready to move through these resistance exercises. Okay, I'm going to take you through a circuit training. Starting on the ground, the only thing we're going to need today is one set of dumbbells. So probably about a moderate weight. We're going to start with a beast into a row. So if Baloo will permit me to do this on the floor, I'm going to show you. Can you sit? Sit. Baloo, sit. Sit. I don't want to hurt him. Okay, so you're going to be on your hands and knees like this. Moving into a beast, or just hands and toes, you can call it. There's lots of things I've heard it called. Just lift your knees up like this. Now, if you can, we're going to row. And try to keep your back as flat as possible and keep your hips still. So you're not, doing this and this, rocking from side to side. If that's too challenging, do it from your hands and knees. It's still going to work the same muscles for your arms, but just a little bit less intense. If you want to try a couple on your toes and then drop to your knees, and then maybe try the last couple up on your toes, you get a lot of core, shoulder stabilization, and lots of accessory muscles as well, trying to hold you in that still position, staying nice and firm. Okay, so that's the first exercise. That's the only exercise we need weights for. We're going to stay on the floor. Okay, we're going to move into a bridge. So we've done lots of bridges, and I'm just going to show you the basic bridge today. Again, lying on the floor with your back flat, feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and you want to think about flattening your back to the floor. So when you're laying there, if you're able to slide a hand here underneath your spine, think about smashing your hand. Think about flattening your back to the floor there. Then I want you to squeeze your glutes and lift your hips. Push your weight through your heels. That's one. Each time, I want you to think about each one of those preparatory movements. Flatten back, squeeze glutes, lift hips. Flatten back, squeeze glutes, lift hips. Pushing your weight through your heels. Your hands can stay right here beside your hips for a little bit of support, a little bit of balance control, or you can put them up here on your tummy, or you can even cross them across your chest, which will give you a little bit more challenge because then you have to balance just on your shoulders without any extra movement here between your hands. All right, let's do 4 more. Lift up, weight through your heels here. You can keep your arms crossed here. Flatten, squeeze, lift. Now I want you to think about squeezing your glutes here versus trying to get your hips up through the ceiling. We're lifting your hips, but I want you to really squeeze through the glutes and not kind of overextend. 1 more. Flatten, squeeze, lift. Make sure you're breathing throughout this whole thing and not holding your breath. So any way that you find that you can find a good breath flow through that is a great way to do it. There isn't a right or wrong answer. Sometimes if you take a breath before you start and then slowly breathe out while you hold it, that's a good way to do it. You can experiment and find out what works good for you. Okay, we're going to stay in this position here, and we're going to do a leg lift. So leg lifts are really a great way to work your quad. It's a hip flexor exercise for sure, but you're also engaging your quad here. And if you're having a lot of knee pain and you just can't do, maybe squats and lunges, this is a good alternative, for a few days until you can get back to it. And you may be surprised at how challenging it is on that quad, having to hold that leg straight all the way through this range of motion. Now, I don't want you touching your heel down to the floor, and I only want you lifting even with this bent knee. So I'm also considering keeping my back flat to the floor here. So my abs are having to stay engaged. They're helping out here. Nice and slowly through that range of motion. I think this is 9 and 10. Okay, good. Now we'll switch legs. Flatten your back. Straighten out that leg. And then we're going to lift to the height of your knee and lower without touching the ground. Nice and slowly. Breathing, so you can breathe in here. Breathe out as you lift. If you don't need to breathe that quickly, you can kind of breathe in for 1 repetition and out for 1 repetition. If this feels extremely easy to you, slow it down. You can do a count of 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. So there's a lot of ways to make this a little bit more challenging. And like I said, it's just a really good quad workout, especially if you're having any knee or hip pain that are limiting you from doing squats or lunges. And 10, I think. All right, good. Now we're going to stay in this position and we're going to do double knee lifts. So I'm going to call in that core again. I want you to flatten your back. We're going to lift your knees up off the floor in about a tabletop position here. Don't quite set them down. Now that's the point where it's hard to hold your back flat to the floor. So really focus, flat, 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 pull back up. If that is really challenging, hi Tubby there, you can bend your knees a little more. That should be quite a bit easier, keeping them bent, you know, kind of where they just kind of lay, where your calves sit on your thighs here. That should be easier. You want to lay down, Tubby there? If that's still challenging, or if it's hurting your back, you can alternate. Putting 1 foot down at a time. And if that's still challenging, message me. There's another way we can do this where you push into one hand, one knee at a time. So it's kind of, you know, it's engaging that core, engaging your hips here, but a little bit differently, hopefully helping your back. Okay, now we're going to flip over onto your hands and knees and do a bird dog. So just on your hands and knees here, you don't have to lift up onto your toes. We're going to reach your right arm out straight and then your left leg out straight. Now I just want them in a nice straight line from the tips of your fingers to the bottom of your heels. So you don't need to bring it way up here or conversely way up here. We're going to go nice and slowly. You want your hands directly beneath your shoulders, your knees directly beneath your hips. Trying to keep your back as flat and stable as possible, even though you're alternating lifting those opposite limbs. Also, keep your head in line with the rest of your spine here, so you're not looking down like this. You're not looking up like this. You want to keep your neck happy here. So sometimes people have trouble with this, and I say tuck your chin. Think about like a rope pulling up from the base of your skull so that your spine stays in line. You want your eyes straight down. Keeping your shoulders down away from your ears as well. Flat back, stable. You want to try your hardest to stay as stable as possible, like you're keeping a teacup from spilling on your back. Breathing, never hold your breath here. Now, if you want to make this more challenging, another way you can do it is just hold one side for like 30 seconds. The challenging part with that is sometimes you start to break form a little bit trying to hold that. So you could start with 10-second holds. You could also do this with your tummy on a ball, your tummy and your hips on a ball. If you have shoulder pain here and it hurts to reach up like this, or if you've got any elbow pain stuff going on, you can just pick that opposite side up. So I'm going to stick my knee back and just pick my hand up. And especially, you know, even if one side hurts and one side doesn't, you can still straighten out one side and then pick the other one up. Or if this is hurting one of your legs for some reason, hips, just lift it up bent like this. Just a little bit of a bend. And that will be a shorter lever, making it just a little bit easier. So there's a few ways you could mix that up to make it doable if you're having challenges. If you can't find a way and you need more assistance, don't be afraid to message me or send me, put a comment below. Okay, the last one, we're going to stand up. So we've been on the floor for a long time. Take your time to slowly come up. So we'll come into this position, make sure you're not lightheaded or dizzy, and then we'll stand up. Okay, for the last one, we're going to do a little bit of a balance challenge. And this one is a little bit different than we've done, but it can be really challenging. I want you to put your feet close together and stand. Then I want you to just shift into your toes and your heels. You don't have to lift them up, but I want you to shift your weight from your heels, and they might come up, your toes might come up a little bit, to your toes. But I want you to try to keep your feet on the floor. We're just shifting. So I'll turn sideways so you can kind of see. I'm shifting, like I'm gonna go forward, I'm gonna go backwards, and you may find one feels a little more challenging than the other. Like if you're going backwards and you don't have that control to hold, and you take a step, that's okay, take a step, but make sure you're doing it somewhere either near a wall or near your kitchen counter, somewhere where you can grab on. So I want you to just kind of practice this for about 30 seconds, just shifting forward and back, keeping your hips from doing this though. I don't want you bending forward and backwards. I want this all one big solid straight line, making those feet and ankles work really hard, and your core is going to have to engage here too to keep you from, falling backwards. Okay, and then same thing, we're going to go side to side. So I want you to kind of roll your feet in your shoes. This might be a good challenge barefoot. I think the forward to back is more challenging. The other way you could do this is stand on a balance disc or stand on a balance pad. But the goal here is to kind of shift over, like you're gonna maybe start to fall that way, but you don't go. If you need to take a step, of course take a step. Feet right together, stiff as a board, like someone is kind of doing this to you, to your shoulders. Like if they had their hands on your shoulders and they were kind of pushing you side to side, and then you can go forward and backward again. Do each for about 30 seconds, and maybe spend a little more time on that really challenging part, because that's where you start to get stronger and grow and start to, build that awareness around that. Okay, go through these one or two more times. It's not a super challenging day. That very first exercise is a big challenge, and then I wanted to back off a little bit from that. So go through these one or two more times, add some cardio in between, and finish with a good cool down and a stretch. And like I said, if you have any questions or need any modifications, private message me or leave it in the comments below. Thank you, everybody. Have a great workout.